Hey guys, how is everybody doing? And today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on a very underrated sequel in my mind with the movie of the Lost World Jurassic Park. Why did I say with the movie? That was weird. I've seen me with glasses before. Yeah, this is new. I haven't worn my glasses on camera because these lights have a glare in them, but I fixed it. There's still a little bit of glare, but it's better now. So I'm trying to wear glasses while I make videos so I can actually see this time. Not that it adds anything. For those of you who didn't know I had glasses, well, I have glasses, so you learn something new every day. Starting off with my positives on The Lost World Jurassic Park, and something that I liked about this movie is seeing Jeff Goldblum return. Now, he didn't really have like a huge role by any means in the original movie, but he was a very memorable a very memorable actor and a very memorable character with Ian Malcolm, which I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves right, is that Jeff Goldblum is the one from the original film that has returned the most in this series because he returned in this, he returned in Fallen Kingdom, like for a very small proportion of that movie, and then of course he returned in Dominion with the rest of the original cast and stuff like that. So Jeff Goldblum is the one that's returned the most out of any of the other actors. So he's been in the most Jurassic movies, basically. And it's just cool to see him return. Now, again, he wasn't like a big character or a huge role in that first movie, but he was memorable and he was likable for what we saw of him. And just to see him come back and have a bigger role and kind of see him like with Ian to be developed more to where we kind of learn more about him, to where we meet his kid and we see that he has a girlfriend named Sarah, which they alluded to it in the original, saying that he had kids and that he's been married every once in a while, where he's married, then he's not married, and then he's with somebody else, and then he's not with anybody else, where he basically jumps to a bunch of people. And then it's just cool to see him just have a kid, to see him kind of develop and kind of see him as a father figure throughout the movie. So I'm just a huge fan of Jeff Goldblum. I've always been a fan of him. My favorite movie of his is The Fly, which that's a weird movie, but he's really good in that movie. So I've always been a fan of Jeff Goldblum, and to see him come back and do a sequel and to see him like return a bunch in this series is just, it's just really cool to me. And he's never really been in big movies. He's always been like a big actor, but I don't really think I've seen Jeff Goldblum be in like Oscar worthy movies, if I'm being honest, which he might have some out there, which might have I've never probably never seen or even fucking heard of. But yeah, it's just cool to see Jeff Goldblum come back and just see him develop more of the Ian Malcolm character. And this movie definitely lives up to its title with The Lost World, because I really like how more open world this movie is and how more adventurous this movie is, if that makes sense. Because the original movie was in one area, technically. Like, it was a whole park, which, sure, it was an open landscape and there was like a lot to explore in that movie, but it was in one area. Like, we never really saw too much. We only saw like the park. We only saw like big proportions of the park, and then we saw like some open land every now and then of the park, which, again, it had its open world like moments, but this movie expands that. Which in this movie we find out there's a whole island of where the dinosaurs were left off after the original, because this movie takes place 4 years later, which I believe this movie was released 4 years later. With and just to see this whole island of just full of dinosaurs, which probably, if dinosaurs were recreated like they do in these movies, we would probably see something like that today, which I really like that. This movie is more open world. This movie, it has more to explore, to where they're exploring more of it, and you get more characters in this, to where they're trying to hunt down dinosaurs. There's this whole character just trying to hunt down a T-Rex, and just the whole open world of just them in the forest, and then seeing like different proportions of it. Like, some of my favorite sequences is like in the tall grass with the velociraptors, and then you just have other parts where you're introduced to other dinosaurs, which I thought was really cool about this movie, which kind of goes along with the open landscape, to where you just get to see more dinosaurs, which I think is awesome. Which I love seeing dinosaurs. Like, you get to see. Which I like about this movie too is that it focuses on different dinosaurs. Since this movie is an open world and you get to see more of this movie, and there's just a bigger landscape, you get to see more dinosaurs, where it just doesn't focus on two. Because the original movie, it had other dinosaurs, but it mainly focused on the T-Rex and Velociraptors, which rightly so, because those are probably the most popular dinosaurs of all time, and also just the coolest ones. But this movie, since it has an open world, it shows off different dinosaurs, and some dinosaurs that, like, probably has no one's ever seen. Like, yeah, like a Spinosaurus, I'm pretty sure it's called. I can't remember all my dinosaurs. I used to be obsessed with these fucking things. What happened to my fucking lingo with this? But like you just see more dinosaurs, and it's cool to see more dinosaurs. Why? Because dinosaurs are cool. What's wrong with you? But yeah, and not only that, do we not just go into like the forest part of this movie, or just like the whole land of this movie? You also get to go to the where I like about this movie, and something that I really wish this franchise would capitalize better on is that we also get to see a city in this movie, to where we see a T Rex get brought to a city. That is awesome in my mind. Seeing a T Rex roam around a whole city, like that was awesome. Which again, the other series has tried. They tried with Dominion, trying to be like, oh, dinosaurs are on the loose or they're out in the open world, and we try to see a city. But I'll get my thoughts on that whenever I get to Dominion. But I really like that this movie decided to bring a dinosaur to the to an actual city, and to like an actual public area, basically. Which again, I want to see this series capitalize more on. There's a huge opportunity there. You just need to capitalize on it, you fucks. But yeah, it just I love how this movie's more open world, and just has so much more to explore. And since you have so much more to explore, you just see more dinosaurs, which I'm glad they focused on other dinosaurs too, and not just two of them like the first one did. I know I talked about it with the first movie with the horror vibes, but I'm really glad that this movie kind of carried on from the first movie with the horror vibes. And I kind of forgot this movie had so many horror movie like moments like the first movie did. It doesn't have as many as the first movie by any means, but I did forget how many horror moments that this movie does have. And I kind of forgot how much horror this movie had compared to the other ones, which I'm really glad that it carried on from the first movie. And I was talking about that when I reviewed the first movie, is that I really wish that the other sequels and the other movies would kind of carry on from that, which they've tried, but they've never really captured it like the first movie. But this movie comes close to capturing it just as well as the first movie. Probably doesn't help that Steven Spielberg also directed this movie, which is the only other sequel he's directed besides Indiana Jones, which is surprising to me. So yeah, I thought that this movie carried on the horror vibes pretty well from the first movie. I do have a minor issue with this kind of later, but I'm really glad that this movie was able to carry the horror vibes back, because like my favorite moment where I really got like that horror vibe again was the whole tall grass sequence with a bunch of raptors like just slowly one by one yanking these guys into the grass, just slowly one by one. Like that whole sequence was awesome. I love that whole sequence, and especially with the two T-Rex, like the T-Rex trying to save their baby, like that whole sequence was awesome as well. So yeah, this movie does have those horror vibes, and if you're like me and you love that about the first movie, then you're gonna get it in this one. Just not as much, but you're still gonna get it. Moving on to my mixed aspects, one thing I will say about this movie that I thought was more noticeable than it was in the first movie, and that is the CGI and the use of green screen. Now, I'm not saying that it ages poorly by any means. Like, it still looks decent, especially for the time that it came out, but it's just more noticeable. Like, when you see, like, like, certain dinosaurs running around, like, especially some of the newer ones that they include in here, like, you can see, like, a weird outline around them, and you can tell that whole dinosaur is CGI. And then there's, like, moments where, like, Ian and his daughter are, like, on, like, this weird elevator thing, and they're up in the sky, and you can tell, like, the whole background is a green screen. Like, there's just certain moments to where I noticed that it just looked off and it just looked noticeable. Now, again, it's not a huge distraction by any means, but it is definitely noticeable. It doesn't age poorly by any means. It still looks decent, especially for the time it came out, which it can't, maybe it does age a small bit poorly, but I do think, honestly, that it still looks pretty good, especially for a 90s movie. But yeah, it's something that's noticeable is all. Now moving on to my negatives, and like the first movie, these are very small negatives. If anything, they're nitpicks, but I do have a few issues. And my first negative that I have is the comedy in this movie doesn't really feel like it needed to be there. Like there's a lot of like comedic moments, like with Ian and stuff like that. Like there's a whole moment to where like they're literally about like the trailer is basically hanging from a fucking cliff, and if something goes wrong, they're gonna fall into that pit and they're gonna die. All those rocks are gonna crush them to death. Like they will die if that thing falls. And then this guy shows up and he's trying to help them. He goes, "What do you need?" And then for some reason, all of them start ordering food. Like they tell them they want burgers and what they want on the burgers. It's like, um, this is poor timing. Why are we doing this? What's the point of this? And
three double cheeseburgers with everything. No onions on mine.
I don't know. We'll turn it over.
Yeah.
Dude, those animals are so fucking funny. They make me want to merge without looking.
And not only that, there's just other moments where like they're small, like they're nothing like, oh haha belly laugh or whatever. Like there's like small moments where they're trying to be comedic or funny or whatever, but it felt forced. And especially when I was talking about how this movie does capture that horror vibe again, I felt like I felt like I would have loved the horror vibe more if they took out comedy, because the comedy kind of killed the moments like that. Like there was moments to where like there was this like really tense moment, or there's like this really creepy moment like with the velociraptors I was talking about earlier, and then someone would crack like a joke or say something funny, and probably doesn't help that Vince Vaughn is in this movie, which I don't really think he was a comedic actor at this time at this point of his career. But yeah, the comedy just felt forced, and it didn't feel like it needed to be there, and it kind of killed the horror mood, which like I felt like this movie should have focused on more. Which it does still have a lot of that in here, but since there's a bunch of comedy and it felt like it was kind of pushed in there, it just felt off watching it. And this negative again, if anything, it's a nitpick, but excuse me, it creates this huge plot hole in this movie for me. Like I'm watching it and it just makes no sense while I'm watching it. Now, towards the end of this movie, like right as we're getting into the city, like right before the T-Rex like comes out of the cage or comes out of the cell that it's being held in to be brought into the city, before he gets let out of there and let loose all around wherever they are. I can't remember where they are. I'm pretty sure they're in New York if I'm not mistaken. But like there's this whole part to where like something is going wrong with the boat that's carrying him or whatever, and then all of a sudden like the boat like crashes onto the dock or whatever, and like everyone's panicking and wondering. Then all of a sudden the rich guy that wanted the T-Rex there, that wants to fulfill the guy's dream of creating Jurassic Park or whatever, and for some dumb reason decides to bring the fucking T-Rex to this place or whatever, he goes on the boat to see what's wrong, and the guys that are operating the boat are dead all of a sudden. Like, one has his hand eaten off, and the other one is lying dead on the floor holding the controller to let the T-Rex out, and supposedly accidentally hit the button to open the gate or whatever. That made no sense to me. Like, when did those guys die? And what exactly fucking killed them? Like, did the T-Rex, like, somehow get out of the cage and eat them? Was there another dinosaur on the thing? Did they just die out of the blue? Did like God basically say fuck you, die or whatever? Like how did they die? And when did they die? Like when exactly did they die? Did they die when they were leaving the island? If so, then how the hell did the boat get to New York City? How the hell did they carry the T-Rex there if they were dead this whole time? But if they died right there and then when they found them, what exactly killed them? That made no sense to me, and it creates this huge plot hole in this movie that just makes no sense to me. Like, I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, how did they die? Like, what exactly killed them? Did the T-Rex kill them? Well, he couldn't have. He's in the fucking cage. Like, it creates this huge plot hole and creates this huge issue for me because it makes no sense. What exactly killed them, and why, and like, how and when? Like, it's so confusing to me, and every time I watch this movie, which sure it leads up to the T-Rex getting loose and wreaking havoc all over New York, supposedly. I'm pretty sure this movie's in New York. I can't fucking remember. But like, can't you find a better reason? Maybe there's another dinosaur. Maybe something just goes wrong. Like you could have found another reason to do that. Like you could have easily just accidentally opened the cage and let the T-Rex out, but you decide to create this whole plot hole that the people that are driving the boat are dead. How did they die? All in all, guys, I honestly feel like The Lost World Jurassic Park is a pretty underrated follow-up to the original movie. Like, I really don't hear anybody talk about this movie. Like, I hear people talk about the original. I hear people have not mixed emotions, mixed opinions on the third movie. And then you have the whole Jurassic World trilogy that a lot of people like to rag on or whatever. But I never hear anybody talk about this. And I honestly feel it's a pretty underrated follow-up to that original movie because I really enjoy this movie and I always really have. Ever since I was a kid, I've always enjoyed this movie. But yeah, if you like the first movie, I honestly feel this is a pretty good follow-up, and I feel like this is the last Jurassic movie that really captures that magic feeling like the original does. So I've always really enjoyed this movie. It might not be for everyone. A lot of people might have a few minor issues with it, but I've always really enjoyed it. If you like that first movie or if you love that first movie, I honestly feel like you're gonna enjoy this one. So what do you guys think about the Lost World Jurassic Park? Let me know in the comments down below and we shall talk about it. Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Let me know once again and we shall talk about it. And if you like this video, like it. If you love to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will get notified for all my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, I'll see you all next time.